A crafting table in Minecraft looks like this, but in Hytale we need all of these workstations to craft. And today we're reviewing every difference you need to know between Hytale and Minecraft, starting with the one simple change Hytale's crafting tables make that might still make its crafting better than Minecraft. For one, the workstations can pull from nearby storage containers, so even if the items aren't in your inventory and they're left in the chest, it'll still work here. Redstone's a huge part of the Minecraft community, but it's not planned in any way to come to Hytale. Since as Simon Hypixel says in this post, the goal is instead for Hytale to focus on magic and fantasy instead of the technical aspects that we see in Minecraft. Unlike Minecraft, Hytale has vertical slabs on day one, which is a feature that Mojang says they won't add because they don't think that it meshes with the player's creativity. The closest we have there are shelf blocks. If you look at a Minecraft texture and count the pixels, you'll see that it's a 16 by 16 texture. But in Hytale, the pixel density is higher, ranging from 32 by 32 to 64 by 64. But even though we have that higher fidelity, it's not as easy to make your character look exactly how you want on Hytale than it is in Minecraft. In Minecraft, we're famously able to use skins to change how we want our character to look exactly based on a texture. But in Hytale, the only way that we could do that is using some kind of mod. And by default, instead, you'd be using something like the character customizer, which does have a lot of different options, and it looks more close to how Minecraft Bedrock character customization is. I mean, even down to the microtransactions. Use code SKIPITSHOP. World generation between Hytale and Minecraft is very different, so let's rapid fire through them. For one, on Minecraft, if you travel 30 million blocks in any direction, you'll find a world border limiting the world generation. But on Hytale, after you leave the main island in your orbis, you can come to a vast ocean, which eventually leads to a new land that infinitely generates. But the different places that you find here are separated into zones, as opposed to the randomly generated different biomes that we see in Minecraft. And while on Minecraft we can use specific seeds to get the different world generation that we want, on Hytale your spawn is always going to be within the starting area, making sure that every player's journey starts off in basically the same way. When you look at creative mode in Hytale, it looks a lot more like modded Minecraft. And one of the big reasons for this is that Hytale takes inspiration from things like Axiom and World Edit to allow a whole bunch of opportunities for map makers. So we can easily generate paths, walls, buildings, prefabs, as well as even have our own built-in version of replay mod with the machinima tool, letting us use an actual camera item in the game to get the specific shots that we want. Also in creative mode, we have built-in shape-shifting in Hytale, since by going through the menus you can change how your character model looks at any time, making it even easier to go and play hide and seek with your friends. But do note, if you're not getting all the features that you want in creative mode, you might have to type in the /opself command to get these accessible. Both Minecraft and Hytale have their mobs made in Blockbench. And to make modding even easier, one of Hytale's goals is to have a built-in Blockbench tool. So if you wanted to make custom skins or resource packs for any kind of modeling, you could do it with the official plugin. Combat between Minecraft and Hytale looks very different, and while it seems to be getting more complex on Minecraft with things like the spear and the experimental combat snapshots, in Hytale, there's just so many different weapons to choose from. Two-handed daggers, battle axes, even rifles. And different weapons also have the ability to charge up and use different kinds of specials. Considering Hypixel has more than enough experience in making PvP servers, it makes sense that would find its way into Hytale. Though we might need one change before Bed Wars comes to fruition. Because in Minecraft, you're able to break someone's bed by default. In Hytale, you're only able to break the bed that you yourself have, since you claim it as soon as you sleep in it. And let's talk more about guns, which intentionally are never coming to Minecraft, but in Hytale you can use a gun the same way as we did with our bows and arrows, which personally reminds me of something like Palworld when I see it. It's maybe a little cursed. And combat isn't just different for us, but also for our mobs, since in Hytale the entities can actually defend themselves, so you need to wait for your turn to attack when you're fighting different enemies. But in Minecraft, there's no way for that to happen. The closest thing I can think of is the Vindicator disabling your shield when he uses the axe. And it's not just our shields we can block with. Since while sword blocking's been removed from Minecraft since we had shields, in Hytale you are actually able to use your sword for blocking, as well as interestingly using your shield to attack. By default, Minecraft no longer has auto jump turned on, but something similar does exist in Hytale. Though here it doesn't cause you to jump, but instead just step up gradually over the blocks. And that's not the only parkour change we have to see, since also in Hytale we're able to jump up and vault around 4 blocks tall, easily climbing up to ledges that we could never dream of doing in Minecraft. The closest thing I've seen to something like this is the parkour mod. And as you've probably seen on Twitter, there's a lot of different movement options that you could do with the different weapons as well. In Hytale, there's no such thing as floating trees like we see in Minecraft, since here if you break one block of the tree, the whole thing comes tumbling down. Which is of course something we've seen in modded Minecraft as well, but this other feature with trees I haven't seen in modded Minecraft before. Because when you break down the tree in Hytale, if you look lower, you can see that it actually has roots going down into the soil. Whereas in Minecraft, the trees just stop at the grass layer. In Minecraft, the ways that we hide from mobs are by using the invisibility potion, wearing a mob head, or just by holding down sneak. And in Hytale, we can see something similar, since whenever you approach a hostile, you'll see an exclamation point form above their heads. So if you were to sneak around more, you could use stealth as an option in Hytale. And fit in with Hytale's look on stealth, you'll notice that your attacks do more damage from behind, giving you a kind of stealth strike. Minecraft doesn't have furniture in the base game. It's another thing Mojang said that they don't want to add to the game. But in Hytale, we not only have different kinds of chairs, but we can sit down as well. Shovels do a lot more in Hytale than do on Minecraft, since here they mine in a radius, breaking multiple blocks of dirt at once as opposed to just one in front of you. If your stuff drops in lava in Hytale, don't worry, since strangely enough, lava doesn't burn or destroy the different items, which is good when you start mining down to the lava layer. Even if you might not be safe from the lava, your stuff is. In Minecraft, chests don't require any kind of support block for them to be standing there, but in Hytale that's not the case, since sometimes you might notice that if a chest is unsupported, then that'll cause it to break on the spot. Currently in Hytale, grass cannot spread to dirt, but in Minecraft it just requires a light level to do so. While in Minecraft we need to tame our horses to ride them, in Hytale you can just jump on a first try and go at it. You don't even need a saddle. If you find a horse, it's yours. While sand famously falls down as a gravity block in Minecraft, in Hytale, if sand loses its support, it instead just breaks off as an item. In Hytale, saplings don't drop from trees like they do in Minecraft, so if you want more, you'll instead have to craft them at the farmer's workbench, using the Essence of Life item. While farming in Minecraft uses a water source block to hydrate the farmland, in Hytale, the way that we do this is with a watering can, which when you use that over your farm will make them grow 2.5 times faster. When you place down fences in Hytale, you might be worried by the fact that you're able to jump over them, so why couldn't our mobs? But unlike in Minecraft, even if we're able to jump over the fences, the animals can't. But getting them in the pen might be a little difficult. Since holding the animal's food item in Minecraft will lead all of them towards you, in Hytale that only leads the adults. And for baby animals, the way that you get those is by using some kind of storage box to bring them over. While in Minecraft, a lot of our animals are going to be passive, specifically because Mojang doesn't want animals that are based off of real life being outwardly hostile. In Hytale, a lot of the animals that you see are actually neutral, retaliating at you if you start to attack them. While we have furnaces in Hytale and Minecraft, when you smelt sand in Hytale, it gives you directly bottles, instead of the glass that we then craft into bottles like we see in Minecraft. The way that we heal in Hytale works like old Minecraft, where food correlates to health restored instead of an actual food bar. But as soon as you eat the food, you do gain some amount of the health back immediately, and then the rest is regained over time with a health regeneration effect, which that part does feel more like the saturation in Minecraft. Old Minecraft was definitely a lot scarier than how it is today, and while things like the Warden and the Creek seem to bring it back to that old fear, in Hytale we got a whole different level of fear. And for my money, I'd say that the crawler mobs that we're seeing here are definitely one of the creepiest things I've seen in the game. I never thought about something being less scary if it had legs, but I'd really rather see this thing with a pair of pants. In Hytale, it's intended that you smash through different barrels to obtain different loot, but in Minecraft, if you were to go and break down a barrel, the items would drop, but you could also just right-click and loot it that way. While both games have an offhand feature, Hytale has multiple different offhands that we can use, since with the help of the quick wheel we can switch between different item types that we want here. But it only takes certain different items, a lot more similar to Bedrock Edition than Java. So for instance, you only use things like torches or shields in this slot. Even something like food doesn't go in the current quick wheel slot. In Minecraft, maps look like this. They're an item that you craft and you have to preload the chunks to be able to see them. But on Hytale, we have it much more similar to other survival games, where right from the get-go we can open up a map and see not only where we're at, but also where our base is, how far we are from spawn, and also set down waypoints the same way that we would in something like the other mini-map mods for Minecraft. And if you thought coordinates were gone, that's not the case for Hytale, since you can highlight on the location and still see the exact coordinates. A lot of players in Minecraft famously hate rain. I mean, even so much so that Mojang's mentioned it in their April Fool's jokes. But in Hytale, it's a lot more ambient, even changing as soon as we step inside like you hear here. One of the first things you'll notice in Hytale is that there's so many more plants than there are in Minecraft. And a big reason for this is because we have to break down those plants in Hytale to give ourselves plant fiber to make different tools. Whereas in Minecraft we can make our stone pickaxe just by using stone and sticks, in Hytale we need to tie it all together with the plant fiber. In Minecraft we use spawn eggs and no AI commands, but in Hytale we just have a simple drop down list where we can see everything that we want to spawn in one area. With 10 obsidian and flint and steel, we can craft ourselves a nether portal in Minecraft. And here's how it looks compared to the portal that we see here in the footage for Hytale, which is also different because it has a time limit on the portal, only giving us a limited amount of time to go in and check on the dungeon on the other side, as opposed to the always active gates that we see in Minecraft. In Minecraft, you can tell how much damage you deal by counting the different amounts of hearts that come out as particles when you hit a mob. But in Hytale, it's more straightforward. There's literally just a number that shows up. And if you go into the settings, you can even turn on health bars as long as they're enabled on the server. If you ask me, bows in Hytale have a big issue compared to Minecraft, which is that when you go to pull back the bowstring if you don't have any arrows, it'll still look as if you have an arrow in the animation, but you won't be able to shoot anything in Hytale. But in Minecraft, it just doesn't let you pull back the bow at all. I think that's a lot more straightforward. If we look up to the skies, we can see that the clouds in Hytale look a lot more painted, whereas in Minecraft, there are more of these blocks that we can actually go and fly through. While stack size in Minecraft has almost always been 64, except for a brief time where it was 99, in Hytale it's just not as easy to say as that. Since while certain things can stack up to 100, other items like the ores can only stack up to 25. But with the ability to craft backpacks in Hytale, there are other ways to solve our storage problem here. While capes in Minecraft are a solid slab, Hytale has capes too, and they got a lot more depth added to them, with the ability to decide if you want it to go over your shoulders or just be on your back, as well as animating with different motions as you move. Let's talk about how the two games handle death. Since in Minecraft, when you die, your items explode out everywhere and you lose all your XP. But Hytale's got a different approach by default, since instead of losing all of your items, what'll instead happen is that the items that you do have will lose their durability, as well as you lose some of the different items in your inventory, but not all. As you can see in this clip, you're able to cut through leaves in Hytale with different weapons. But in Minecraft, the preferred tool is a hoe. You're really not supposed to break much with a sword anyway in Minecraft, since even something like bamboo takes double the amount of durability. If you played Minecraft with an inventory sorting mod, then you're definitely familiar with these features when you see them in Hytale, since we have built-in buttons for quick stacking, taking all, depositing all, or organizing all of your items. Holding a torch in your hand doesn't do anything in Minecraft, but in Hytale we not only give off light by holding one of these in our offhand, but even the item themselves when dropped on the ground will give off some amount of light. And all these light sources are able to produce different colors of light, similar to how Minecraft's shown off in their ray tracing demo. In Minecraft, there's a very linear pickaxe progression system. You need stone to mine iron, iron to mine diamond, and so on. But in Hytale, as long as your pickaxe can break the stone that the ore is in, you can actually get higher tier ores with lower tier pickaxes, meaning that crude pickaxe is still worth holding on to. Which is good, because pickaxes in Hytale are a lot more expensive than Minecraft too, with leather being a particular sticking point for crafting some of these higher tier ones. When a player drops an item in Minecraft, it'll only last for 5 minutes on the floor, but in Hytale it can last up to 10 minutes. In Hytale, if you use different tools, you can increase your reach to extend to different blocks. While the most similar thing we have to that in Minecraft would be the new spear. In Minecraft, if you craft something, it's very unlikely you're able to uncraft it. But in Hytale, there exists the Salvager's Workbench, which if you upgrade your workbench to a tier 2, you can craft this station, and while it doesn't give you back your stuff one-to-one, you will get back some of the base materials, even unsmelting the iron that you used in your pickaxe down to a regular ore. When Notch made torches in Minecraft, he toyed with the idea of them burning out, and while that doesn't happen in vanilla Minecraft, we can get something similar to it in Hytale, since for any torch or light source, you're able to turn it on or off. While mining a block in Minecraft, if you stop mining it, it might have a chance of remembering some of the block breaking progress, but in Hytale it has it for multiple different blocks. So you can watch the world slowly reheal itself, or take the opportunity and break all the blocks that you got started on. One of the first things that threw me off when I played Hytale was that if you right click with a pickaxe, it also breaks. So you have to press the F key to interact with workstations, as opposed to the right click that we do on the crafting table in Minecraft. When you plant a sapling in Hytale, it doesn't just go from sapling to a full tree, but instead it'll take time to grow, first being the skinny tree middle stage, which if you break that down will only give us sticks and not the full oak logs. The tools and armor in Hytale don't just break when you're done using them, but instead they just become less effective when the durability runs out. And then if you use a repair kit, you can bring it back to health, but losing 10% of the total durability. Whereas in Minecraft, we have enchantments like mending that basically make this a moot point. If you run out of fuel in a furnace, it'll still remember the cooking progress in Hytale, so you can resume it as soon as you add more fuel. But in Minecraft, if you run out of coal, you're gonna lose that cooking progress. And speaking of progress, in Hytale, because we don't have any recipes, it's interesting that some crafting here takes time, as you see from this progress bar here. But this doesn't apply to everything. So crafting seeds, for instance, is something that's instantaneous like it does in Minecraft. Infinite water sources are something famous in Minecraft, but it doesn't seem to be possible in Hytale. Since we were to fill up a bucket from a body of water, it just depletes it a little bit if we see it in Hytale. Both Minecraft and Hytale have spiders, but Hytale has the ability to change out those spiders for crabs. Since if you go into the settings, you can check on the arachnophobia mode, and that'll make all the spiders view as crabs instead. Even though Hytale's set up to be more of an RPG than Minecraft, it's interesting that it doesn't have an XP system. But instead, the way that we do progression like this in Hytale is that you can record your memories at the different gates to make progress on how many different mobs you've seen. And the closest we have to that in Minecraft is something like the statistics menu, which has always been a mess. One thing that might throw you off when you first play Hytale is that the sprint and crouch keys are the inverse of what they are in Minecraft. but don't worry, you can just rebind it. I know I did. In Minecraft, skeletons will burn in the sunlight, but in Hytale, you can just about expect to see every skeleton spawning during the daylight as well, which is another reason why Hytale's a lot scarier than Minecraft. In Hytale, you can open up a chest even with a full block on top of it, but in Minecraft, chests require a transparent block on top. Oh, and also, if you break a double chest in Hytale, it'll break both of them and drop both at once, but in Minecraft, it only breaks the half that you're breaking. So, what's better? Hytale or Minecraft? Well, I love Minecraft. And I think that's why I love Hytale so much. It feels like discovering Minecraft again for the first time. So if it looks like fun and you want to buy it, then you can support my channel by entering code SKIP in the shop. It lets Hytale know you want to see more from us, and it helps out a ton. And with that, folks, YouTube thinks that you might like this video, so see if they're right and have a good one, alright?